Hello and welcome, I'm Micah, the cosplayer seamstress. Today we will be doing the first part of the Dr. Doofenshmirtz costume, which is the white lab coat. But before that, remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. The materials I will need for this part are thread, fabric, interfacing, the pattern with instructions, scissors, both fabric and paper, and a sewing machine. If you would like to know where I got the pattern, fabric, and interfacing and how much they cost, check out the Patterns and Plans video for Dr. Doofenshmirtz. The first step is to cut the pattern pieces you need for your project. To find out which pattern pieces I need, I will reference the pattern for design B. So I will need pieces 6, 8, 11, and 12. Once I determine the pieces that I need, I will cut them out of the pattern paper. After I cut the pattern paper, I will use those pieces to cut out the fabric. You can use the cutting layouts in the pattern, or you can make your own layout as long as you follow the instructions on the pattern paper. For example, if you need to cut something on a fold, then you will need to remember to cut that on the fold. I will be creating my own layout as I have struggled on my last projects having enough fabric. I will also need to remember to put on dots and cut notches here as well. I mark my dots with a fabric chalk pencil later. I will also be marking any other things that need to be marked. Next, I will set up the machine. If you're not sure how to make a bobbin match your thread or how to thread the machine or bobbin, check out my sewing machine walkthrough video. I will be using white thread on this part so that it matches the fabric. Try to always match your thread to the fabric unless you are wanting the thread to stand out. Now I will begin to follow the directions on the pattern. Step 1 reads, stay stitch front and back neck edges 1/2 inch, 1.3 centimeters from cut edge in direction of arrows. The stitching stays in permanently and helps prevent stretching on curved edges. Stay stitching will not be shown in the following instructions. This is what the picture for this step looks like. Basically, I will be stitching along the tops of pieces 6 and 8, following the arrows. Step 2 reads, turn front edge to inside along outer fold line forming interfacing. Baste close to inner edge. Remove basting when garment is finished. Turn front edge to inside again along remaining fold line forming facing. Press. Here's the picture for this step. For this step, I will take both sections of piece 6 and fold it along the fold line. Then I will baste this with the machine. After that, I will fold again along that fold line and press it. Then I will repeat this step on the other side. Step 3 reads, turn front facing to outside matching large dots. Stitch neck edge from fold to large dot, stitching through large dot to upper edges as shown. Clip to large dot, trim seam. Here is the picture for this step. For this, I will be taking what I just did and turn it so that I have both the right sides facing me. I will then match the dots and sew along the line that the pattern shows. Then I will clip the fabric to the dot and trim the seam so that it is small. Then I will repeat this step for the other side. Step 4 reads, turn facing inside, press. Baste across the upper edge as shown. baste close to the inner edge of facing. Here's the picture for this step. I will now be turning the facing back to the inside. I will then baste close to this outer edge. Then I will baste again along the inner edge. Then I will repeat this step for the other side. Step 5 reads, on outside, top stitch facing in place as basted. Remove basting. Make upper and lower pockets same as for top A, see steps 2 and 3. Here's the image for this step. This is a very easy step. Basically, I will be sewing on top of the basting on the inner edge. After that, I will remove all of the basting stitches so far, which I did off camera. Then I will repeat this step for the other side. After that, I will be skipping the end of this step and steps 6 through 13 as Dr. Doofenshmirtz does not have pockets or drawstring to keep his coat on. Step 14 reads, stitch front to back at shoulder seams. Press seams toward back. Here is the picture for this step. This is another really easy step. I will be sewing pieces 16 to piece 18. This will be done at the shoulder seams. Then I will press the seams to the back. Step 15 reads, on outside, top stitch close to forward shoulder seam as shown. Here's the picture for this step. This is another easy step. I will be sewing on the outside, following the seam, locking the seam in place. Step 16 reads, pin interfacing to wrong side of collar section. Cut diagonally across corners that will be enclosed with seams. Fuse interfacing in place following manufacturer's direction. Machine stitch 5/8 inch 1.5 centimeters from notched edge corners. Here's the picture for this step. This step can be a little confusing. First, I will pin the interfacing to one of the two collar pieces, which is number 11, making sure I pin it to the wrong side. Then I will cut the bottom corners diagonally. After that, I will apply the interfacing to the fabric according to the directions on the interfacing. For this, I will simply be ironing it together. Then I will sew along the notched side with a 5/8 seam allowance. Step 17 reads, press under 5/8 inch 1.5 centimeter on notched edge of collar along stitching. Trim to 1/4 inch 6 millimeters. With right sides together, stitch front facing to collar, leaving edges open. Trim seam and corners. Here is the picture for this step. This step really confused me. On one side, I pressed and trimmed the notch edge. Then sewing both pieces together with right sides facing each other, I sewed along the sides and bottom, leaving the top open so that I can do the next step. After that, I trimmed the seams and corners so that they would lie flat and not be bulky. Step 18 reads, turn collar, press. Clip neck edge of garment to stay stitching. On outside, pin collar facing side to neck edge, matching centers and placing small dot at forward shoulder seam. Baste. Stitch collar in place as basted, being careful not to catch in pressed edge of collar. Here's the picture for this step. The first part of this step is easy. I will simply be turning the collar so the right sides are facing out. After that, I will press the collar so that it lies flat. Then taking the neck edge, I will trim the fabric down to the stay stitching I did earlier. After that, I will pin the collar piece to the neck piece using the side with notches and matching everything up. Then I will baste this together. Finally, I will sew what I just basted, making sure I only sew the notched side of the collar. Step 19 reads, press collar out, pressing neck seam toward collar. Pin pressed edge of collar over seam. Stitch pressed edge of collar over neck seam. Here is the picture for this step. Basically, I will be pressing the collar so that it stands up. Then I will pin the collar to the neck seam I made in the previous step. After that, I will sew this in place. Step 20 reads, with right sides together, pin sleeve to armhole edge, matching small dots. Stitch. Stitch again 1/8, 3 mm from first stitching. Trim seam below notches close to stitching. Press seam towards sleeve. Here is the picture for this step. Basically, I will take the sleeve pieces and pin them to the armhole edge. This is where the shoulders will be. Also, when doing sleeves, you need to make sure that you put the right sleeve to the right armhole. I will sew this according to the seam allowance. Then I will sew it again 1/8 inch away from that, going closer to the edge. Then I will trim all the seams so that it is not bulky. After that, I will press the seam towards the sleeves. I will do this twice as there are 2 sleeves. Step 21 reads, pin front to back at entire underarm sleeve, matching armhole seams and large dots. Stitch seam from large dot to edge of sleeve. Back stitch at large dot to reinforce seam. Press up sleeve hems. Press under 1/4 inch, 6 mm on raw edge. Stitch close to inner pressed edge. Here is the picture for this step. So I'm going to be doing things a little different from the directions which you can do. Dr. Doofenshmirtz lab coat does not have side flaps, so I will be pinning from the bottom of the coat all the way to the sleeves. Then I will sew all of that. After that, I will press up the hem of the sleeves 1/4 inch. Then I will sew close to that pressed edge, creating a nice hem on the sleeves. I will do this twice as there are 2 sleeves. Step 22 reads, mark length, press up hem along marking. Mark depth of hem, trim evenly. Press under 1/4 inch, 6 mm on raw edge. Stitch hem in place. Press under 5/8 inch, 1.5 cm on slip opening edges. Press under 1/4 inch, 6 mm on raw edge. Stitch, squaring stitching about opening. Here is the picture for this step. For this, I will have my partner wear the lab coat and mark the length. Then, I will pin the hem along that marking and trim the length so that it's even. After that, I will sew the hem in place. Because I do not do the slit openings, I'll be skipping the rest of this step. I'll also be skipping the rest of the steps on making this jacket, as I will not be putting in buttons or snaps. Congratulations, you now have a lab coat. Here's what the finished product looks like on my partner. If you would like to see how I make the pants, come back in 2 weeks.
Now that you have the lab coat, you are ready to start on the pants. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. See you on the next project!